Greetings, everybody. Excited to do this new live streaming video thing here in the Demon's Tea Room. So wait to see if we get anybody kind of showing up. I know it's in the middle of the afternoon, but since right now, for the hopefully near-stable future, will be working night. So what I wanted to do is I want to do something new for the Demon's Tea Room, get some stuff out there. Once we're done filming this live shot, we'll be posting them onto our Demon's Tea Room YouTube channel. And unlike the videos that we're doing for the YouTube channel, this one will be a little bit more unscripted. A chance to sit down and talk with you. Right now it's nice and warm outside, so I decided to do it out here with the sounds of the city in the background. So what we want to do is each day we will go into some of the lore and legends and the ghost stories here in the city of New Orleans and the surrounding areas. So one of the things I want to do is I want to get you guys to post down below when we get this posted up on the YouTube channel in the comments some of the lores and legends and stories that you either heard of or that as a kid you were told from some of our locals and our natives here that you want us to do a little bit more research on and get out there into the world to put into the record as it so to speak. And then we'll talk more a little bit towards the end of this about some other ideas that I have for our live chats here at the Demon's Tea Room. So welcome, hi everybody. I'm seeing some people are hanging out. A lot of my friends and family are up on here. Saw my brother Josh. There's my sister Amber and Kyle and Mish. My lovely wife is watching. No pressure. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, I sat there last night trying to figure out what story I wanted to start with, and there is such a plethora of lore and legends and history in this city and the surrounding area that trying to pick from it is frankly bloody difficult. And so I decided I wanted to fall back on one that the story kind of touches a dark part in my heart. It's got, and I can't really put my finger on it. From the first time I heard it, started researching it, it kind of crawls in your brain and won't go. And then to make it even worse, it's 30 miles outside of New Orleans, just up the road, just away. And this is the story and the legend of Aunt Julia Brown. Now, some of my guys that have hung around me a lot have heard me tell this story once or twice. And like I said, the story just has the ability to reach out and grab you and not let go. And it tickles the imagination. So, we'll start out talking about the story of Aunt Julia Brown and the Manchac Swamp. Now, for our folks that don't live in and around the great city of New Orleans, down here in southern Louisiana, down here in the swamp is very much an everyday part of the life. Even though you're in the city, you're still in the swamp. So swamp has a power to it. It's almost like a huge recording device, and it records everything, and it don't forget. So we're going to jump back to the Manchac Swamp in the small town of Fernier, Louisiana, back around the turn of the century, around 1900. And Fernier, as well as Ruddock and Napton, were small little towns just out there in the Manchac Swamp along Lake Pontchartrain. And their main industry was logging and growing and raising cabbage that grew really well in the dark soil there out in the swamp. And keep in mind, even though you're only talking 30 miles outside the city of New Orleans back then, it might have been 300 miles. And the best way for them to get into or out of the city of New Orleans was by rail. The rail lines ran right through those towns. And so getting access to medical and doctors was difficult, especially for just everyday ailments. So Julia Brown, reputedly, and what we've been able to historically document, was a voodoo practitioner, voodoo queen, if you will, here in the city of New Orleans up through the 1860s. And then she moved out to Fernier, Louisiana. Now, she very rapidly became a mainstay, a main part of Fernier, Louisiana. Through her knowledge, she was able to make herbs and healing medicines from nature, which is very much what the people needed. And so she very rapidly became a very important part of the town of Fernier, Louisiana. Well, through the 1880s up into the new year around 1900 and in the 1910s, something somewhere started to change. And people don't know. One of our lovely trucks going by. Historians just debating back and forth over whether the emotion between the residents of Fernier, Louisiana, or Aunt Julia, which way that changed. But suffice it to say, it started to sour over time. Now, it's documented, and here in just a second I'm going to read you guys a article, very short piece from the Times-Picayune newspaper from the incident we're getting ready to talk about. But it was documented, both orally as well as writing, that Aunt Julia Brown used to sit on the front porch of her house out there in the swamp. And she would play her guitar and she would sing songs. And one of the songs that she would sing to people as they walked by on the street was, "When I die, I'm going to take this whole damn town with me." She would sing it over and over and over again, and then hackle and laugh as people walked by. So, when Aunt Julia Brown passed away in late September of 1915, they had her funeral. And they held it there in the town of Fernier. Keep in mind, you're not talking a very, very large town. But everybody showed up. Everybody in town. Now, some people say, rumors have it, some people showed up out of mad respect. Others said they showed up hoping to get on Julia Brown's good side. Just in case she had the power that she talked about. Well, so set the scene. The entire town shows up, and Julia Brown's laying there in her casket for her funeral services. And the skies start to darken, and the rain starts. And that rain starts to get heavier and heavier, and the winds start to pick up. And the winds start howling. Now people are starting to get a little worried. And the anxiety level is starting to raise. And as they're going through the funeral, those rains and those winds keep getting harder and harder and harder. Until it gets to the point that the makeshift building they're in starts to come apart. Well, what they didn't realize at the time, because, well, they didn't have radar, was that they were now sitting smack dab in the target of an at least Category 3 hurricane. They believe winds were clocked at around 125 miles an hour. And as the water started to rise, as that storm surge started to get pushed in to southern Louisiana, started raising 5 feet, 10 feet, 13 feet. And the town of Fernier started to get washed away. And there was one survivor who survived this incident. And he survived by crawling into an uprooted cypress tree that was there in the town. And he talks about what it sounded like. The sound of the wind and the water rushing in sounded like a freight train. And the other part he talks about in his story is listening to the sounds of the screams and the yells of his friends and families there in Vernier, Louisiana, as this storm washed them away. And he left a written document in his journal. And I'm going to read this to you real quick. It's very short. It says, "The water was washing in the front door. We thought we were gone. All the camps down there gone on the big lake that had big timber, big cypress timber. It was just like a break bore went along there. I'll bet that storm blowed every bit 120, 130 miles an hour. You could hear it come from across South Pass when it hit our place. Just like a freight train." And the newspapers of the time, this went over throughout the entire night. He spent the entire night in that cypress tree, watching his friends and loved ones get washed away. And they document as the next morning, as the sun came up, and as rescuers were able to start making their way into Vernier, Louisiana, that the devastation was complete. It had basically wiped those towns off the face of the map. Now, put yourself in the place of those rescuers as they're trying to get into Vernier, Louisiana on dirt roads, through marshland, high water, alligators, snakes, all the things we love about this living in southern Louisiana. And they document how there were bodies everywhere as the water started to recede and that storm surge started to pull back out. And that they had to take the debris from the houses and use those as makeshift rafts to place the bodies on, to take them to the central graveyard there in Vernier, Louisiana, where a mass grave had been dug, to try and deal with the almost 300 bodies that they were dealing with. And the remains of Aunt Julia Brown were found as well. Her casket was never found, but she was found. The rail lines completely washed away. Town completely washed away. Now, all the residents were placed in this mass grave. And it's believed by some that Aunt Julia Brown placed a curse on Vernier, Louisiana. And the curse basically states and says that nothing will ever grow in that town. And if you go back and you look at the records for Vernier, Louisiana, all the way back to the storm in 1915 that wiped it out, nothing has ever grown there. You'll get a house or two occasionally there, and as things build up, another storm will come in and wipe out the area, or another pestilence will hit and wipe out the population. So, people here in and around New Orleans and those out there in and around the swamp very much believe in the curse of Julia Brown. Now, other paranormal teams have gone out to Vernier, Louisiana, and have gone out into those swamps at night. And it's said, been documented by some of our modern technology, that if you pay close attention late at night there in the Vernier swamps, around Vernier, Louisiana, there in the Manchac swamp, that on the wind, especially if a storm's coming in, if you listen real close, you can hear the sound of a lady singing off in the distance. If you listen real close, you might even pick up the sounds of the words she's saying. That when I die, I'm going to take this whole town with me. Now, as a founding member and one of the lead investigators of NOPE, New Orleans Paranormal Explorers, we have a trip planned to go out to Manchac Swamp, just up the road just a little bit. And we're going to put our team together, we're going to take you guys out there to Manchac Swamp. We're going to go to the side of the graveyard, do an overnight investigation, pay our respects, as you do, and give those spirits that are out there in the Manchac Swamp, maybe give them a chance to tell their side of the story. Now, we're going to start doing these live videos every day or so, every couple days or so, and we'll post them up on the YouTube channel, as I said earlier. And give us a chance to tell you guys some of the stories a little bit more unscripted, a chance to talk to you one-on-one, especially since what we're staring down the barrel at here in the United States and around the world is going to change the way we do things just a little bit. So I figure as we ride out this storm that is looking like it's about to break on us here in the city of New Orleans in the United States, it's already broken around the world and it's coming in hot and heavy, that I would invite you guys in, have you come up, grab a chair, grab your favorite cup of tea, your favorite drink, sit back, warm yourselves around the fire, and we talk about some of the things that go bump in the night here in the city of New Orleans and out there in them there swamps. Also, as things transpire here in New Orleans, I'll post up a little bit about that stuff too. Get you guys know, get first-hand accounts of what's going on here in the city. Right now, as of this recording, there's just a few cases that have been shown up around the state, and they're rising. But as it is right now, down in the quarter, there's people down there spring break in Texas. So all our spring breakers have come in. And as a tour guide, I truly appreciate that because, well, I like to eat. So as it stands right now, we're doing good. People here in the city are watching it cautiously. We're taking our precautions and just like a storm, getting ready to batten down the hatches and getting ready to weather that storm, whatever it brings. And I know across the country people are doing that as well. And here in New Orleans, living in that kind of atmosphere is what we do. Them storms come around every June, July, and August like clockwork. Some years we get them, some years we don't. But we do get them. So, like any other storm, we'll hunker down. We'll take care of our neighbors. Take care of each other as New Orleanians. And we'll weather the storm. So, we'll all make it through this. And there'll be many more stories and legends to tell around the fire late at night. And I didn't want to keep this one real long. I wanted to keep it rather short. But as I said earlier, and welcome to everybody who's watching me, seeing you guys go roll across the bottom here means the world to me. So there'll be much, much more in-depth stories coming. And like I said, guys, post some comments down below, especially once we get this posted up on the YouTube channel for the Demons Tea Room. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear the stories that you want to hear and the discussions you want to hear about. Evie and I have started our very first podcast. It's been the editing phase right now. As we go along with the podcast, my little big brother, Jasuit, the Wookiee, is going to be joining us as a fellow presenter on the podcast with Evie and I. So we have a lot of really cool things planned, and I figured there's no better time than the present, and the whole find a silver lining to the shit show that apparently is about to go down. And I guess that silver lining is we'll do the things we've been talking about, the things we want to do when it comes to the paranormal and telling the stories here in the city of New Orleans. So guys, be safe out there. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We will weather this storm. And we will all come out the other side stronger for it, a little wiser for it. But nothing says we can't tell some creepy stories along the way. So guys, this is Cedric from here in the beautiful city of New Orleans, southern Louisiana. And much love and respect to all of you out there. And I'll be talking to you real soon. We'll talk about those things that go bump in the night. So, as I posted up yesterday, I'm here. If y'all want to walk across the scope that is dark history, I'll make sure you get through to the other side. So till then, seeing you guys out there. Peace, everybody.